So why do we prune trees?
Take dead wood out,
Yeah, that's one goal, definitely. Anyone else?
Tyson growth.
Yeah. What have we done with trees over time? What have we removed them from? Yeah, their natural environment. So on the left there, what do you notice about those trees in terms of their structure and form?
They have leaves on it.
Yep, straight up and down. They have good branching, good leaves that are spread all throughout the crown. How about on the, I guess my left, you're right. Yeah, wider, spread out. So when we take trees out of the woods, they're wild. We try to domesticate them, put them into an urban environment, but they get kind of lazy. It's like a domesticated dog. It goes from a wolf to a dog very quickly. They're going to relax out in the landscape. They're going to start to form large, low branches that can potentially be weakly attached and spread out in a way that is very unnatural. And you walk in the woods, you notice the trees have one single stem, small branches attached with good spacing. On the right, you'll start to get large, low branches that form, and these weaknesses that can contribute to cracking or breakage out in the landscape. So the structure is not there like it would be naturally. How about here? Yeah, shock and awe, right? On my right, very healthy tree that's been pruned to kind of biomimic what would happen out in the woods naturally. Nice single stem, small branches attached, good symmetry all around. On the right here, we have a tree that's been totally topped. And so we know topping and heading cuts, that's going to contribute to significant decay, really weak branches that form, that resprout. It makes a great coat rack for Shrek, but not so good for a beautiful landscape by any means. So how do we fix this? And we really need to think about the convergence of pruning, arboriculture as both an art and a science. So we continue to learn about pruning, how trees work. But what Alex Scheigel really focused on was this branch protection zone. So the trees have a natural defense system that comes from out of the trunk into the branch. And within that is a branch bark ridge, up a little bit higher there, you can see it, and a branch collar. And he recognized that when we bypassed or cut into this branch protection zone, we allowed the decay and insects, disease to readily travel into the trunk of the tree. And that decay would spread down, up, contribute to decline. With the thought of target pruning, which was pruning just outside the branch bark ridge and just outside the branch collar, he recognized over time the trees would create callus tissue, this reaction wood that you see up here. So the tree will actually start to regrow, and that wood that forms is much stronger than the wood that was there before. So it's really important that we're precise. There's some precision there to where we put those pruning cuts on the tree, and that we have a really good reason why. We don't want to take the branch away, because what does the branch do? What do the leaves do for the tree? Yeah, energy, resources. So we don't want to rob and starve this tree or potentially do something that's going to hurt it long term. We have to think very long term in terms of the tree species' life, its duration, and what we're going to do to try and care for it. We don't want to harm it in the process of helping it. With that, there should be good objectives. Arborists may prune, reduce the risk of failure. That's very common. We don't want the tree to fail, damage people or property, hurt anything or anybody. Trees can be planted in a way that they get in the way, right? It's infrastructure, but it's often infrastructure that's planted close to other infrastructure. So clearance may be one. Shade, big one. Ask any second grader, their favorite thing about a tree is probably shade or oxygen. And then wind resistance, so that that tree is structurally strong. It's not going to get wind thrown or broken or damaged if a storm rolls through. We want to keep them healthy. Today, very much so, flowers and fruit. Super important for orchard pruning and fruit tree pruning, right? You have to have flowers in order to have fruit. So we want to be thoughtful about how and when we make those cuts so that we don't take away the potential for the tree to flower and then obviously have fruit to yield. And then aesthetics, vista, views. We're for better or worse, humans love to have dominion over nature. So, those are important considerations when we're talking to anybody in terms of pruning. So structural pruning is really focused on developing a strong framework of branches. We want to have a tree in most applications that has a nice central leader on a central leader system, we'll talk more about orchard systems later, and that we have a really good plan of influencing that to better biomimic what would happen out in the landscape naturally. So a nice central leader, small branches attached, really good vertical and radial spacing all throughout the tree. So a mnemonic device to help remember that, drip lines. So we want to develop a central leader, reduce upright branches, identify what will be those permanent branches out in the landscape, because on small trees, those branches that are low and attached are probably temporary. They're going to grow into the house, they're going to grow into the sidewalk, they're going to grow into where you need to mow the grass. So eventually we're going to have to reduce and remove those branches. We just want to do it in a way that doesn't hurt that tree's trunk. That trunk is what stays with the tree for its whole life. A lot of those side branches, they go away. Look for clearance issues, ensure 3Ds and 3Cs. We'll talk about those, dead disease, dying. Never compromise that branch protection zone. As a general rule, taking no more than about a third annually out of the plant, but that's going to vary widely depending on the patient. I always joke with my father-in-law. He's a physician, he's a urologist, and he has one patient, and his patient talks back, right? So he can get some feedback there. Us, as arborists, I'm like, Larry, I got a tougher job. I got 100 different species, and none of them talk. I guess you just got to know how to listen, right? That's why we're here today, is to understand the body language of trees, how they work, how they function, and know that each one is different and unique, and understanding those species-specific aspects of care is really critical. And then good branch spacing across the crown of the tree. And trees, like I talked, treat each tree and specimen individually, remove and reduce branches, so we don't want to just top the tree at any point for no good reason. We want to have a really good reason when we're going to reduce or remove a branch. Make small cuts as much as you can. So the tree's going to have a much better ability if you're removing a small branch, 1 to 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches, maybe 4 inches at most, versus a branch that's 6 or 8 or 10 or 20 inches. I mean, you can go back and look at those pruning cuts, and I'm sure you've seen it, Chris, right? And the landscape, oh man, I learned from that cut. That was a cut I didn't know any better 10, 15, 20 years ago, to where now I know less is more often as it comes to pruning the trees.